Donald Trump just got the final nail in his coffin regarding the Freedom 250 concert, which he had to cancel after all the musical performers quit on him. One by one, all of the musical performers said that they were defrauded by the Trump regime, and they were told they were performing at a nonpartisan American 250 concert, when in fact they were actually booked for Trump's propaganda fest as part of Freedom 250. Well, now, as I mentioned, he's getting the final nail in his coffin, as even the top MAGA personalities and influencers are mocking him for this disastrous planning. Not only that, but one of the founding members of Milli Vanilli, Fab Morvan, went on CNN last night and said that he quit after the event has already been canceled. Now, when one of the founding members who was a lip singer of Milli Vanilli is quitting after the event is canceled, and you're the president of the United States, ooh, that's a new low right there. And not only that, but Milli Vanilli already quit. So they quit twice, because the real Milli Vanilli put out a statement saying that the original real vocalists of Milli Vanilli, Jody Rocco, Linda Rocco, Brad Howell, John Davis, and Charles Shaw, will not be performing their hits live at the Great American State Fair. Others using the name Milli Vanilli that appear on the advertisement should be considered a tribute band with no association vocally or musically to our sound or song. That was last week. And so now you had Fab Morvan, though, who they were talking about, going on CNN to say that he quit as well. This is a new low right now, I think, for any president. You would think that this is a layup to do a nonpartisan concert. No, Trump's made everything grotesque and utterly weird. And as I noted at the outset, you have some of the top MAGA influencers calling Donald Trump out. Matt Walsh, for example. You don't get much more MAGA than Matt Walsh. He says, "I'm actually pretty pissed at how badly they've bungled America 250. First, they tried to invite Milli Vanilli and a bunch of other absurdly washed up geriatric one-hit wonders. Then when that didn't work, they decided to convert the event into a Trump rally where Trump will talk about himself for 90 minutes. This should have been a massive, raucous celebration of the country and its 250 years. Now it will be a political rally identical to the 10 million other ones we've already seen. You really can't imagine a better way to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday," Matt Walsh says, "than listening to Trump give a speech for the 10,000th time. Not sure I believe you. At any rate, America's birthday should not be about Trump. He isn't the star. The country is. A Trump rally will be Trump just talking about himself for 90 minutes. Having that as the main act for our 250th would be ridiculous and sad." You also had this right-wing account, Polymath, right? At one point during the 2024 election cycle, Trump was promoting a massive Great American Fair for the 250th anniversary. He proposed the Iowa Fairgrounds for it and promised each state their own pavilion. I was really excited about this idea. The 1893 World Fair, celebrating 400th anniversary of Columbus discovering America, was a massive event, years in the making. It's covered by history books. I knew that 2 years was not really enough time to make something that tremendous happen, but I had hoped that Trump might push forward that vision and that some passionate people might bring it to fruition. I hope to travel to it this summer with my kids. What a wonder it would have been to see each state proudly represent itself, to have a grand event that brought us all together for a singular moment. It's awful that such a grand idea has eroded in this sad display. And then, as I mentioned, you had Fab Morvan going on CNN Live and saying that he quit. But he quit after Donald Trump already canceled it and turned it into a MAGA rally. Again, when Milli Vanilli is late quitting on you, again, you've reached a new low. And if you can't attract Milli Vanilli as the president of the United States, I would say you haven't only lost the culture, you've lost culture in the weirdest warp time machine ever. Watch what Fab Morvan had to say. Play this clip.
We heard on Friday, your team told us that you were still intending to perform in Washington, D.C. for the Freedom 250 concert. Is that still the case tonight?
It's not the case tonight. This is why I'm here. I'm here to talk to you about this whole thing. So, at first, when this idea came to me, I live in Europe. So my team in Europe received the date, we looked at the date, okay, the Great American State Fair, and the cherry on top was 250 years anniversary of America. I've learned a lot of lessons in America, hard lessons that I never forgot to this day. So, the difference between working hard and working harder, thinking big, thinking bigger, resilience, believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I felt like it was a special moment, a full circle moment. So I was excited. And, that's what it was. A state fair in Washington, D.C. That's all it was to begin with.
Well, how was that told to you? Did they told you that it was going to be just a performance to celebrate the United States of America? What changed then?
Well, what happened is when I saw young MC pulled out, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Why is he pulling out? Because does he know anything that I don't know? What does he know that I don't know? I was thinking. So I was a little worried there. And then one after the next, people started to leave. But I was told by my team, who was told by another team, there's no political entanglement, there's no political alignment. It's just a free show for the people. I was there to unite the people, to bring people together, to have them walk down memory lane, celebrate life. Some people that were there, that would be there, were there when my music came out. So it was a way to say, hey, I'm still here, you're still here, let's have a good time together. That's what it was for me. But throughout the week, it turned into a circus. And this is not what I signed for. I'm here to bring people together with music. I'm not into politics. So you hear it first here. I'm not attending June 26th celebration.
Yeah, never thought I'd have to say, watch what Fab Borvid has to say. Play the clip. Anyway, then you had Ruben Gallego being asked on Capitol Hill by our Pablo Manriquez what his view of it is that all of these artists dropped out of the 250th anniversary. Here's what Gallego told our Pablo Manriquez. Listen for yourself. Play this clip.
What do you think of all these artists dropping out of Donald Trump's big concert for the 250th anniversary? He seems to can't book anybody.
Well, look, if this was actually about the 250th anniversary and the president not trying to make it political and part of extension of MAGA, I think you'd have a lot of artists that would actually participate. Because I think, our artists love our country and want to contribute to a great celebration. The fact is the president messes up by making this political and by making it about him instead of making this country, and a lot of them just felt uncomfortable about that.
And I do also want to acknowledge, though, that Matt Walsh, in addition to calling out Donald Trump on this disastrous Freedom 250 concert, he also posted the following as well, calling Donald Trump out for Trump's catastrophic war in Iran. Matt Walsh posted that he thought that Donald Trump made all of these promises and didn't come through on any of the promises. And from Matt Walsh, calling Donald Trump out on Iran is something's changed. Something's in the air that's different as well as MAGA's revolting against Donald Trump. And folks, it's not only that this Freedom 250 concert's another disaster. In addition, the Freedom 250 event that already took place, it resulted in a massive spill of oil all over the Washington Mall. There was a massive leak that took place that they're blaming on vandalism. 30 gallons of fuel were spilled during one of the pre-events for Freedom 250, and the event organizers are blaming vandalism, even though normally, if we applied the actual rules, the organizers, in this case, Freedom 250, would be responsible for the fact that 30 gallons of fuel are spilled all over the National Mall. There are mitigation teams there right now trying to clean it up. And in my opinion, it is being covered up. You've got that going on. You've got criminal investigations and civil investigations taking place into ticketing schemes from the World Cup as Donald Trump has inserted himself into that and has turned it into a disaster. We're seeing cities across the country which were told the World Cup would be a $30 billion boom to the local economies. Cities are losing money. There's a investigation into the so-called dynamic pricing by the World Cup, by FIFA, whether they are artificially inflating prices to create fake demand while screwing over consumers and trying to get the prices up as high as possible. We'll talk about that in a moment. We've got Trump regime threatening, not just threatening, saying that ICE will be all over the World Cup games, which is further fueling a boycott internationally and here about the World Cup. Then you have Donald Trump's disastrous UFC fight that's supposed to take place on his birthday. You have just the sheer grotesqueness of what it looks like, this UFC stage at the White House. And then, in addition to the fact that Donald Trump's regime said they don't want fatties, that's an exact quote from them regarding they don't want service members who they believe are overweight. No one's going to this thing. It's just they're using our service members as props for this thing. But then what we've learned also is that the Trump regime circulated a deck where they're going to want their wealthy right-wing oligarchs who Donald Trump is helping manipulate the market for them to then repay the favor by now buying seats, get this, for $1.5 million per ticket for these right-wing oligarchs for the pleasure or the honor of attending a UFC fight. What in the world is going on here? Let's break it down piece by piece right now. First, let's just talk about the 30 gallons of fuel that was spilled on the National Mall. Cleanup efforts are underway, NBC is reporting, as Freedom 250 claims this was vandalism. So there's 30 gallons of fuel on the National Mall right now from a recent pre-event that's taking place. What happened is that fuel from commercial generators at the latest event seeped into underground cisterns that collect rainwater to irrigate the mall. 4 of these cisterns, which hold up to 250,000 gallons, are under the National Mall. The people familiar with the matter said efforts to clean up the spill are currently underway. Representatives from Freedom 250 said the incident was vandalism. Following the Freedom 250's installation of temporary lighting on the National Mall, our equipment has been repeatedly targeted by vandals. The recent fuel leak was the direct result of that tampering. All right, so where's the criminal investigation then taking place? Upon discovering damage to a generator fuel line, Freedom 250 and our vendors mobilized within minutes, coordinated an immediate cleanup response, and fully remediated the site in close partnership with the National Park Service. Now, National Park Service in all circumstances would normally hold Freedom 250 responsible for this, but we will see, because Freedom 250 is a Trump organization, unlike America 250, which was the nonpartisan organization. And so not only do we see music performer after music performer having canceled the Freedom 250 concert, which then Donald Trump said, I'm turning it into a MAGA rally. But right now there's fuel spilled all over the National Mall. Great work, Donald Trump. Great work, regime. I'm being sarcastic, of course. Then that brings me to the FIFA World Cup, where there's still actually tickets available in many of the cities. There's this dynamic pricing that FIFA claims tickets are sold, but they're now being investigated by numerous state attorney generals about whether there's fraud taking place here, which FIFA denies. And then not just in the United States, but also in Canada and in Mexico, all of these cities which were promised by Gianni Infantino, you know, the guy who gave Donald Trump the peace medal. Remember why would he get a FIFA peace medal? And then Trump starts wars everywhere against the entire world. But we're seeing cities lose hundreds of millions of dollars. This has cost cities in the United States and cities in other countries lots of money. For example, even Jason Kenney, the former premier of Alberta, says, as premier, I was attacked for refusing to give FIFA a blank check to host a couple of World Cup matches in Edmonton. We are open to supporting the host bid for within reason, but not to give in to FIFA's ridiculous open-ended demands. It looks like our prudent approach has saved Alberta taxpayers several $100 million. The British Columbia government says the cost of hosting World Cup matches in Vancouver has spiked again and could reach $729 million, with even the lowest projections now exceeding the highest estimates from FIFA. We're seeing that here in the United States. I mean, Forbes just did an article about it recently as well. The World Cup is great for FIFA and a bad bet for cities. It seems like cities are getting conned. Now, Donald Trump, as you know, threatening to invade Los Angeles and other cities hosting FIFA with ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo. Here's what Donald Trump said. Play this clip.
And really, Chicago should call and say we'd like help. New York should call. They've had a lot of problems that we want help. Los Angeles should call and probably will. I think they have to. Now, we're going to have to do something when it comes World Cup time, and we're going to have to force ourselves upon them, which we have the right to do, because we don't want to have any crime. We don't want to have any problems for the Olympics and the World Cup, and even for 250.
Here's what DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin said about doing ICE operations. Let's play it.
For an American who is worried that ICE's purpose at the World Cup is to arrest non-citizens, can you offer an assurance that they're there to secure that event?
18 months ago, most Americans didn't even know ICE existed. It's because media and the public has made them a villain somehow. I say the public has mean the Democrats have made them some type of villain, yet they've always been there. So you just took them for granted. So when they're at these sporting events, we're not out there doing immigration enforcement, but we are looking for, maybe we have people that shouldn't be in this country because they're on a terrorist watch list. So
Mr.
if we find a
Secretary,
felon
what I
or we
hear
find
you
someone
saying
doing
is,
customs,
if
we're going
you
to go after
find a criminal, you will arrest them. But
Yes.
the mission at the World Cup is not immigration enforcement.
We're not there. Well, ICE always says immigration enforcement. We're always going to do that. But we're not there for solely that purpose. We're in there to do our job. Immigration, custom enforcement.
But immigration enforcement at the World Cup is not off the table because that is the mission of ICE.
We're not there to go round up mass individuals, but we are always looking for the worst of the worst. We're going to continue to do that.
More from Mullin right here about ICE operations. Let's play it.
We're not there that we're going to be enforcing mass immigration, but we're there to enforce the law. So
Mr.
if we find a
Secretary, what
felon
I
or we
hear
find
you
someone
saying
doing
is,
customs,
if
we're going
you
to go after them.
find a criminal, you will arrest them. But
Yes.
the mission at the World Cup is not immigration enforcement.
We're not there. Well, ICE always says immigration enforcement. We're always going to do that. But we're not there for solely that purpose. We're in there to do our job. Immigration, custom enforcement.
But immigration enforcement at the World Cup is not off the table because that is the mission of ICE.
As I said, we're not there to go round up mass individuals, but we are always looking for the worst of the worst. We're going to continue to do that. But the ICE is footprint is much bigger than that. As I said, it's immigration, custom enforcement.
And just so you know how even countries like Iran are talking about the United States, this is what Iran posted. Meanwhile, in the United States, 2 weeks before the Soccer World Cup, Trump's ICE continues its attacks on American protesters. Imagine if this happened in one of the countries critical of America. This is being posted from Iran. This is what the United States looks like from the perspective of Iran. Play this clip. And here is what New York Attorney General Letitia James says about her fraud investigation into FIFA World Cup. Let's play this clip.
So exactly what information are you seeking from FIFA?
So first, let me just tell you that this is the most expensive World Cup game in the history of World Cups. And so many fans are really excited that the World Cup is coming to this region. But unfortunately, FIFA has engaged in this ticketing scheme and these high-priced tickets. And so we issued subpoena, along with the Attorney General of New Jersey. And we are seeking information with regards to the pricing, the ticketing, and the marketing that they are engaging in, because they are accountable, obviously, to consumers. And I have a responsibility and a duty to protect consumers. And we have been reviewing media accounts, which indicate that from October 25th to November 26th, FIFA has raised the price of tickets for 90 of its 104 games, hit their matches to almost 34%. And the final game at Giant Stadium has increased to the tune of where ticket prices are at $4,000. And I've heard from consumers and I've read media reports. And so it was, it's incumbent upon me to look into this and to investigate. And so we issued subpoenas to get some answers.
That brings me to UFC and the tickets. So as you know, Donald Trump, these are not open to the general public. Donald Trump's going to use members of our military as props. There are about 4,000 of them. As I reported over this weekend, the Trump regime has put out a rule. This is a quote from them, not from me. They don't want fatties at the UFC event. So if you're a male and you're 5'9" and your waist is 35 inches or more, they consider you a fatty, and then you're not allowed to attend. Also, you have to pay your own travel to be at this UFC event. Trump originally said there would be 100,000 people at this event. Obviously, that's a lie. But what we've also now learned is that Trump is making his right-wing oligarchs, who he helps with manipulating the market, pay $1.5 million for White House access. Surprise, surprise. And Ariel Helwani, who runs a podcast that focuses on the UFC, he got his hands on a deck that talks about this $1.5 million fee that Trump is making oligarchs pay to show up at an event where there will be UFC fights in front of the White House. Here, play this clip.
The actual retail price? 1.5 milli.
What?
I'm staring right at it.
Wonder how many of those are available.
It's a deck being sent out to a lot of, influential people, high rollers.
Actually, that makes sense.
And what you're getting is Freedom 250, a welcome reception, which, I'm sure that's something special. Press conference.
Be a hell of a welcome for 1.5 milli.
Well, no. Yeah. Ceremonial weigh-ins, general mission access, Zach Brown, 329 floor tickets. So you're getting something, great there. Ring signage and WWE. And then you get to go to this whole. So the term of this partnership is June 12th. You guys thought that they were going to give this up for $20K?
Bro, 1.5 million is ridiculous for that.
Yeah.
Dude, you 329 floor seats.
I actually don't think that that's crazy.
Dude, that's like a $1.45 million seat to the White House.
No, but you're also getting, what do you mean?
All that other stuff is like at most $500K.
Right.
So you still have 1.45 million to make up.
You mean 50?
Or I'm sorry. All that is worth $50K, not $500K.
Connor, yeah, I get. Yeah, you're
Floor
right.
seats, dude.
Also, we are seeing numerous immigration groups, civil rights groups, leading protests against the World Cup. We've heard from hotel owners and business owners and the tourism industry. Not only are costs or revenue rather being brought in from the World Cup worse than was promised by FIFA World Cup, which promised a $30 billion injection into the economy. In fact, we're seeing year over year, even if there was no World Cup, less money being brought in tourism in these cities that are hosting the World Cup. The World Cup being a net negative, not a net plus, a net negative on cities across the country, which is deeply concerning about FIFA, about the Olympics that are being held in the United States as well. And this is because everything that Donald Trump touches dies. I've heard so many people basically say, Freedom 250, America 250, America's 250th anniversary. This should have been easy. Don't create your own propaganda arm called Freedom 250. Just let the American people enjoy music and entertainment. Don't be all weird about FIFA with Gianni Infantino and give yourself peace prizes and make FIFA about yourself. Make it about the sports. Make it about the women's soccer team, the men's soccer teams, the athletes, the fans. Help make the ticket prices cheaper. No one can afford these tickets. Thousands of dollars a game, that tens of thousands of dollars a game. The cheapest tickets are like $500. Nobody can, and no one's getting tickets at that rate anyway. No one can afford this thing. It's being made worse by your catastrophic war in Iran. Donald Trump's already threatened, essentially, in my opinion, when you read his post, it almost seemed like he was threatening to kill the Iranian men's soccer team. All right, you can show up, but I can't guarantee your safety. He's also been kind of utilizing immigration and visa process to kind of retaliate. He was slow to provide visas to the South Africa team and other countries. So it is a constant injection of all the Trump failures into this thing, and it just needs to stop. And all of these events are falling apart. Freedom 250, the musical act's canceled. This UFC event, even the UFC fighters like, we don't want to be a part of this at all. FIFA, he's screwing that up. The World Cup, he's screwing that up. Just be normal, damn it. Be normal. Anyway, let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get, and already the oil spilled all over the White House Mall. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.